The story of International Women's Day begins in the early 20th century. It was a time of great social change and industrialization. Women worked hard in factories and fields, but they didn't have the same rights as men. They couldn't vote. They had limited job opportunities, and they were often paid less than men for the same work. In 1908, women in New York City marched for better working conditions. They demanded shorter hours and better pay. This event, known as the Uprising of the 20,000, inspired women across the globe. It showed the power of collective action and the need for change. The following year, in 1909, the Socialist Party of America declared the first National Women's Day. Thousands of women rallied across the United States advocating for their rights. The idea of a special day to honor women's struggles and achievements quickly resonated internationally. In 1910, at the International Socialist Women's Conference in Copenhagen, German activist Clara Zetkin proposed the establishment of an annual International Women's Day. The idea was to have a dedicated day to campaign for women's rights and build support for their suffrage movement. The proposal was met with unanimous approval from over 100 women from 17 countries. The first International Women's Day was celebrated in 1911. Austria, Denmark, Germany and Switzerland held rallies and events. Over 1 million people participated. Women and men came together to demand equal rights, including the right to vote, the right to hold public office and the right to work. In 1917, International Women's Day took on a new significance. Women textile workers in Russia went on strike to protest food shortages and the horrors of World War I. This event, known as the February Revolution, forced the Tsar to abdicate and led to the granting of voting rights for women in Russia. Over the decades, International Women's Day continued to be a focal point for women's rights activism. In the 1960s and 1970s, the day became closely associated with the feminist movement. Women protested for equal pay, reproductive rights, and an end to violence against women. In 1975, the United Nations officially recognized International Women's Day. This recognition further solidified the day's global importance and helped bring attention to women's issues on an international scale. Many remarkable women have shaped the history of International Women's Day. Clara Zetkin, the German socialist who proposed the idea, dedicated her life to fighting for women's rights. Her vision and leadership were instrumental in making the day a reality. Rosa Luxemburg, a Polish-German Marxist, was another key figure in the early years of International Women's Day. A powerful speaker and writer, she advocated for women's suffrage and economic justice. In the United States, activists like Alice Paul and Lucy Burns played a pivotal role in linking International Women's Day to the fight for women's suffrage. Their tireless campaigning and strategic protests helped secure the passage of the 19th Amendment in 1920, granting women in the US the right to vote. Throughout the 20th and 21st centuries, countless other women have carried the torch of International Women's Day, fighting for equality and justice in their own communities and around the world. Their courage, determination, and unwavering commitment to gender equality continue to inspire generations of activists. Today, International Women's Day is celebrated in diverse ways around the world. In some countries, it is a public holiday, while in others, it is marked by rallies, conferences, and cultural events. Many organizations, schools, and businesses host special programs to raise awareness about women's issues and celebrate their achievements. In some countries, like Italy and Russia, it is customary to give women flowers, particularly mimosa blossoms, as a symbol of appreciation and respect. In other places, the day is an opportunity to reflect on the progress that has been made in advancing women's rights and to renew the commitment to achieving gender equality. International Women's Day serves as a reminder that the fight for women's rights is far from over. While significant strides have been made, women continue to face discrimination, violence, and inequality in many parts of the world.